Oh, a microphony.
And a phony at the mic.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
The Doctor of Discernment is now online.
You know, much like my show, in that it's a local reaction to things that are happening on a federal level.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Wow, do I have a boatload of stuff for you, from the crazy to the absurd. Let's start getting into it because, I mean, it is bizarro world out there. And I say, if it's obvious to me, should be obvious to everyone. Oh, wow. Who could have seen this coming?
This is the Fourth Hour with Greg Belfrage.
Hold on to your butts.
Broadcasting from my basement bunker beneath Keller Radio. Welcome to the Fourth Hour. It's great to have you along. Let's go to the president's Truth Social account. Here in the last couple of hours, he has had a couple of posts. He said, I've just approved tiny cars to be built in America. Manufacturers have long wanted to do this, just like they are so successfully built in other countries. They can be propelled by gasoline, electric, or hybrid. These cars of the very near future are inexpensive, safe, fuel efficient, and quite simply amazing. Start building them now, the president says. Excuse me. Oh, should have taken a drink before we started. So anyway, he said, thank you to DOJ and the Departments of Transportation and Environment. Also, about an hour ago, the president on True Social saying the Democrats' number one policy push is the complete and total obliteration of our great United States Supreme Court. They will do this on their very first day in office through the simple termination of the filibuster should they win the upcoming elections. The radical left Democrats are looking at 21 justices with immediate ascension. This would be terrible for our country. Fear not, however, Republicans will not let it or any of their catastrophic policies happen. Our country is now in very good hands, the president says. He also posted a photo of him with the family of Andrew Wolf. Andrew Wolf is one of the National Guardsmen who was shot in West Virginia here recently. You had the Sarah Beckstrom was the young National Guardsman who was killed. Andrew Wolf was pretty seriously injured, so he survived the shooting, but his family was with the president in the Oval Office, and he's got a photo of him with Andrew Wolf's family. And the president says he's in the process of healing. His parents, brother, and all of his friends are praying. I just met them in the Oval Office. They are fantastic American patriots. So those are among some of the president's most recent postings to True Social. He also posted to an opinion piece over at Fox News. This is interesting to me. I'm not a golfer. The president, as you know, is. And this is an opinion piece by Douglas McKinnon. And he writes about really the game of golf and the president. And the president at his age and really the level of golf. And he ends the piece, and then this is not a political piece. And it's not written. He's just saying, as a golfer, he's got tremendous respect for, again, President Trump is 78 years old, right? Or 79 years old, I believe. And he's still out there golfing, and he's talking about, you remember that President Trump had challenged when he was running for president against Joe Biden. He had challenged Biden to a golf game, and Biden was too busy. He couldn't be bothered with it. But McKinnon makes the point. He says, two attributes that Trump has that are very relevant. He said, stamina and thinking. And Trump's got them both. He's got the stamina and he's able to think. The game of golf, again, I'm not a golfer, so don't take my word for it. But those who golf, you got to be able to think. Where are you going to? Where do you want the ball to go? Where's the best place? How are you going to get it there? You got a lot of thinking in the game, and as well as stamina. Whether you're walking a course or whether you're in a golf cart. But it's an interesting piece. Excuse me. My coughing really seems to resurface about this time of the day. So take a look at that at foxnews.com. And he also talks about how far Trump can hit the ball. It's just absolutely incredible. So Trump is an amazing golfer. Sounded like I was in Caddyshack there. Golfer. So take a look at that piece. You'll find it at foxnews.com. All right. Kash Patel blasting the Biden administration over its handling of the man who planted pipe bombs at the U.S. Capitol back in January of 2021. So Patel told Trace Gallagher of Fox that the Biden administration sat on evidence for 4 years, failed to make a breakthrough in the case. And he said, we went back, we looked at the cell phone tower data dumps, we went back and looked at the providers and what information they provided pursuant to search warrants at the time, and asked questions such as, why weren't all the phone numbers scrubbed? Why aren't they connected? And why wasn't there any geolocational data done? He said none of those things were done. This is either sheer incompetence or complete intentional negligence, and neither of which is acceptable for this FBI. And he was speaking, this is just before Brian Cole Jr. of Virginia was arrested. He's the one, and you likely have seen news stories on this, he's the one accused of planting 2 pipe bombs near the Republican and Democratic National Committee's headquarters. And nearby, you had folks who were showing up then, and some who stormed the U.S. Capitol over the election results back in 2021. And Patel said the Bureau under Joe Biden failed at basic law enforcement functions because they're making it very clear there's no new information that's come in. This is information that was there. This is information that was always there. We didn't go out. We didn't get a new informant, and, we're not moving forward on this. And what it is, what it demonstrates to me is how broken some of the FBI, in this case, how broken the FBI was during the Biden administration. And I believe if left to its own designs, would be again. I mean, I think it would go right back to this a minute. If Donald Trump and his influence is not felt at the FBI, I think they will go right back to what they were doing before. And Patel said, this guy, he planted bombs at the U.S. Capitol on camera. And the Federal Bureau of Investigation for the prior 4 years couldn't find him. Completely unacceptable. So here comes Kash Patel and a new vision and a new outlook, and we're going to enforce the law at the FBI. We're going to aggressively investigate crimes that have occurred. And now this guy is under arrest for years. The FBI they had years to do this and did nothing. It's just absolutely incredible. So Patel said investigators went back to good cop basics, combed through hundreds of tips and interviews, finally identified the suspect. And he said a key item was the suspect's Nike sneakers. There were only a limited number of those that were made in the United States. So it was his Nike sneakers that apparently brought authorities then to him And it's just, I think it's crazy. Patel said, we can arrest anyone we want, but we worked with our partners at the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, to leverage countless subpoenas and legal processes before we ever decide to hit the House like they did yesterday. And he said, and they hit the suspect's place of business. So was he expected? I think he was expected in court yesterday for his first appearance yesterday. But it's he's absolutely right that the focus and the attention that the FBI brought to that case, and it'd been sitting there, nothing done for years. It's just amazing the difference that you see in these agencies under Donald Trump versus what was going on under Joe Biden. Tom Homan lashed out last night. He had a heckler at an event that he was at. This was an event hosted by Turning Point USA at the University of Texas. And this was a guy heckling Holman. Holman says, hey, call me what you want. I don't care. He said, why don't you grow a backbone, put on a Kevlar vest and a gun on your hip and go secure this border? He's absolutely right, I think, about this. So there was a man during a question and answer period who appeared to be the same guy, the heckler, who suggested that the gunman in the 2019 El Paso Walmart shooting was inspired by what Holman had been saying in his anti-immigration statements. And he talked about this guy. He said he was just your everyday conservative, drove hundreds of miles to our city based on your belief that Hispanics are replacing the white race of white people, and we need to scare to deter Hispanics from coming into the country. Have you ever heard Tom Homan say anything like that? I have listened to numerous interviews of Tom Homan, and he is not talking about Hispanics replacing the white race. What what crazy hell did these people come from? It's just absolutely nuts. So Holman said, what I said was the border was a mess, and it was by design, he said. Back in June, he was during an episode of Pot Force One with Miranda Devine. He said that the Biden administration and Democrats had sold out the U.S. for future political power by allowing millions of illegal migrants to come into the country. And he said they wanted to overwhelm the system because they knew it'd be millions of people that they thought would be in their corner in the future. In other words, they let all these people in hoping they'd vote Democrat and wanting to give them all kinds of things. This is why you see Democrats who are, when it comes to law enforcement, we don't want to have law enforcement. We hate law and order. We're not going to have law enforcement. And we're going to have all kinds of money for you. We are going to give you SNAP benefits. We're going to give you everything else. And it's all designed to get these folks to vote Democrat. I totally agree with Holman on this. And he said there's no other reason why you would open a border. There's no downside on a secured border. The only reason you would do it because you saw a future political benefit in doing it. I think you and I knew that. We've known that throughout. Holman is spot on correct. It's absolutely right. It's all about getting people into the country, giving them whatever you can get them. Diminish law enforcement and don't go after them. You create sanctuary cities and states, and you allowed them then to continue to live on in their lawlessness. And Holman is saying, no, we're not having that anymore. This is how difficult. At least this is what I have taken away from this. Once you allow that to go on, that kind, from my perspective, it's just insanity, that you see those kinds of things going on. But once you allow that to go on, taking that back and reinstituting law and order and, those kinds of things, incredibly, incredibly difficult. Holman said, I've worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. Every president I ever worked for took steps to secure the border. Even Clinton, Obama took some steps. No one was more successful than President Trump. His success was unprecedented because he was absolutely serious. Holman goes on and says, but Joe Biden, I've said this many times before, Joe Biden is the first president in the history of this nation who came in office and unsecured a border on purpose. They opened it, they meant to open it, and they knew exactly what they were doing. I totally agree. I believe that from the very beginning, that they knew exactly what they were doing. They were on top of it. Other stories I wanted to share with you this morning. Netflix going to buy Warner Brothers, at least they hope to. They announced this today. So I have not shared this story with you yet. Netflix today announced plans to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery Studio in a $72 billion deal. Huge. Beating out Paramount and Comcast. So there's a bidding war with all of these. So Paramount wanted to get Warner Brothers Discovery. I don't know. I'm not a Netflix fan. I really am not a Netflix fan. And I don't know that I want, I've not enjoyed the direction that Netflix has moved in. So I'm not too fired up about that. We'll see whether or not that actually comes together or not. As to whether Netflix will get Warner Brothers Discovery Studio. There's a lot of material coming out of Warner Brothers that I really enjoy, which is one of the reasons why I'm a little selfishly don't want to see Netflix get their hands on it. So we'll see. Also, New York Post has got a story regarding Nancy Pelosi and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Their benefits, they will collect, the pension benefits that they'll be getting will cost taxpayers $38 million a year to pay out. The timing of Greene's abrupt retirement, as well as the 6-figure sum that Pelosi will receive, have brought attention to the little-known perk for ex-politicians, renewed calls to end the program. And the vice president of research for the National Taxpayer Union Foundation said of Marjorie Taylor Greene, he said, I can't read her mind, but it certainly seems as if, he's talking about her announcement that she would leave Congress. He said, it certainly seems as if it was timed to make sure that she got vested. So in other words, she waited until she was vested in, the retirement program of Congress, and then she bows out of Congress. If that's true, that really says something. So members of Congress qualify for annual pension benefits only after completing 5 full years of service. And Brady was one of the first to point out that Marjorie Taylor Greene will leave office right after days, because she began serving January 3rd, 2021. She'll leave office January 5th, 2026. So she leaves just as she reaches the eligibility threshold for her pension. That's it figures. This. And there was one other story I wanted to share with you this morning, and this is coming from the UK. Are you watching very closely what's happening in the UK right now? Very troubling, because I think as you watch the UK, when you see things that are happening there, I fully expect them to come to the United States at some point. At some point. So the government in the UK they've been involved in arresting people, for things they're saying on social media. They're postponing elections. They're moving now to introduce a nationwide facial camera recognition system. And Nigel Farage of Brexit, he was the leader of Brexit, talking about this. He says the British government's piling depredations upon depredations on the British people as they announced another postponement of local elections with no good reason. Same day that they moved to roll out facial recognition cameras. And so Farage said, today's the day we learned that there will be surveillance cameras, not just in our big cities, but literally in every single village. The surveillance state is getting very, very close indeed. And then he goes on. He's talking about the British government, frankly, a very authoritarian government. It doesn't really believe in liberty. It doesn't believe in individual freedom. And we learn it doesn't really believe in democracy either. So Breitbart has got a story on this. It's worth following because, as I say, I think you see some of these things happening overseas, and some of them are headed for the United States. I'm going to leave it there for today. You have made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for being here. You are part of my gallery of champions. If you're not a subscriber on YouTube yet, please become one. I would very, very much appreciate it. Special salute to the Bunker Brigade. Those are the folks that are here each and every day. And I appreciate you all so much. So I want to wish you a wonderful weekend until Monday, my friend. I'm underground and gone.